everybody. I've also got a virtual Joy, so if I don't know any answers, I should be looking for her group. Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of our journey and a little bit about Bolton. There'll be quite a few slides I'll go through pretty quick, but quite often it's about the background, and if you do something in 15 minutes and say, well, what about the education staff? What about that? So they're here and they'll be on the website for you to see. But basically, we're a large, busy district general hospital. We started our lean journey in 2005. And everything was going swimmingly well until around about winter 2011, when we've had our, I think, what was the Queen called it, the horrible anise or whatever it was. Well, ours was much worse than that. It's the pits, I can tell you. So we've gone into our Toyota moment, and we are on breach of our authorisation by a regulatory body monitor, and it's been tough for us. But we're 6,000 staff and a 300 million organisation that stepped up to the mark, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. Because what's happened, in all of these things you do great in Lee, you've got all your detractors. We were the first NHS trust to do it in the UK in a whole system approach. And of course what's happened, as it did with Toyota, we've got breach of authorisation, said, told you so. And I cannot tell you how it's been about that lack of support, that British, humour almost, and satisfaction that things went wrong. Particularly our regulator. And I have to stand in front of someone who says that I find it extraordinary, Leslie, that this could happen. Such a reputation. You use the word reputation of Lee. I know you can imagine what I was thinking, and so therefore that motivated me to say, well, we'll show you. True norths are never a destination. That's what it's taught me. If you've got a vision, it's a continual journey, even if that journey sometimes takes you backwards. You've got to move from heroic leadership into distributed leadership to take it. And it was a hero that started our journey. But what's going to take us forward is distributed journey with our teams. And I have to say, when we've been at our most solemn and in trouble, I haven't had to sort of wonder who's beside me, because my whole organisation's been there. And that cultural change that's just been talked about, that we've absolutely got. Trust your people to do the right things. Trust them. And trust the metrics. I'll talk about metrics next. And you will come out stronger. There's 3 stages of a lean journey, and we're only 6 years in. That's kindergarten, isn't it? But it's about engaging your staff and your stakeholders. It's about establishing processes and structure. And one of the things that happened to us in going into our problems, with particularly in our performance, in A&E performance, and our theatres and our 18-week journey, you have to be seen by a GP and treated in 18 weeks, and we were failing that. Lots of reasons why. Some of it was stakeholders. But if you don't keep to the process and structure, and you don't oversee that and keep to that discipline, things will go wrong, and that's what happened to us. So you've got to understand, you've got to have the experience, and you've got to learn. And people know what it's about, and you have to embed. Continuous quality improvement is about being better than the day before. It is that daily huddle, and it's about focused transformational agendas. So what you really have to do, any of you that sat here today, as a chief exec, I'll tell you, you have to take a leap of faith. Sometimes there's something you don't quite understand, but you know it's worked because there's lots of people talking about it today, and you're all in different parts of that journey. But how do you know if you can fly if you don't try? So it's about intent to collective commitment to your people, and I think that the previous speakers just talked about that. It's about leading to leadership, and it's about from doing to being. And from a board point of view, you have to be able to make sure that you're trained and understand it, and we've trained our board. We have visible leadership. The senior manager teams, report out, just as we saw, we have our mission control monthly, and we have policy deployment that we just heard about. And I'm not going to do too much, but as you'd expect, we're a lean organisation. We have our true norths, we have our breakthroughs, we have how we will do it, and we also how we know. Because sometimes, how do you know you've got to where you want to be? And you have to set that ambition for yourself. And we have our Toyota house, our house of lean. We have all the different structures. We've done it from the bottom up. We've done it with an intent. This is not just sort of an ambition. It's about absolutely living and breathing that philosophy of what a lean organisation will be. It's about having the foundations that we have to work on. It's about having the values, and it's these values that actually our staff have been demonstrating so wonderfully well in recent months. And it's about style. It's about how you do it, how you engage your staff, and how you really make sure in an NHS, which quite frankly is struggling at the moment in motivation and morale, when all around you seems to be falling apart, how do you keep to those values that so many of us came into this organisation to do, and to make sure that you can still have free care at the point of access. We have a training academy. 75% of our staff have been touched by VIX in various ways. We have 6,000 staff, so it's also about getting that tipping point to the staff understanding what you want to do. It's about effective engagement, and if anything else, one of the key messages today is about this is how we normally work. It's hierarchical, it's based on power, emotion, suspicion, and you have to go to the lean approach, which is the other way. It's about influence from the bottom up, it's about reason. It's about absolutely having that trust, coaching and cooperation. So it's from the director to the operator will only work so far. It's very much about the operator working up to the directors to actually say this is how we can do it and this is how we can do it well. I just want to talk a little bit about the metrics. I had a Jerry Maguire moment about 18 months ago in Australia when an American called Ori Flume. He was one of the first people that started to look at lean in the US out of the sort of car industry. And he's done a book called Lean Accounting, but he talks about the metrics and trusting the metrics. Forget about what it might mean, that leap of faith. So these are the sorts of things that he relies on. And he said to you, Leslie, unless you have that trust that your people will do that, you'll never surpass. So I brought it back. So 100% customer focus and staff focus. So what's that for the NHS? It's about people. Now, for those of you who are in the non-NHS, you won't really know the significance of having 2 smiling orthopaedic surgeons. But let me tell you it's rare. Okay? These are 2 fantastic surgeons with their people around them about some significant work that they've done, particularly in mortality and reductions in weights for our patients. Our patient survey, even with everything else that the local press is saying about us, even if you read tonight on the Monitor, the Monitor website about us, our people and our patients won't recognise that. Our patient survey is saying, regardless of how we were last year, that we were treated with dignity and respect, and that staff explained we're doing the right things, we've not lost our focus on our patients. We're in the top 20% of staff indicating survey results, and this is a trust that's facing a 20 million deficit this year without radically changing and changing everybody's posts and the different things that they need to do, working harder in different ways with change very quicker than it was much before. So these are staff that are still, with all that pressure, we're not losing those values. It's quite irritating, I have to say, some of the external bodies that's come to us. It's about reduction in defects. It's about getting it right each time. This is about pressure sores. You'll see a lot about this. Pressure sores is usually something about not turning patients, basic nursing care. And it's one of the good signs of how do you know what your nurses are doing. So you can do it in every different principle. Lean can be done everywhere, the right thing each time. And you will see the reduction we had from August last year to having virtually no pressure sores in our hospital or in our community. We also have community services. So that's far more, isn't it, than just 50% reduction. This is about mortality, crude mortality, the number of people who die. And we've looked at the same per heaps of work. If you came to have a hip fracture, if you fell over in Bolton in 2005, and you came into our A&E, you were over 60, and a woman in particular, if you sort of looked at our mortality rate, and the average being 100, we would have had a mortality rate of 179. So 79 more women would have died. And we didn't know why, we couldn't understand it. It was about really not understanding the process and what we need to do. We've used the lean application to that, we have a trauma stabilisation unit, and our current mortality rate is 74, one of the best in England. And this is for the whole trust, this that you see here. And about thrombosis acquired in hospital. This is about doing assessment in the first 24 hours. And again, just by making sure these are some snapshot audits, you can see there that we've had more than a 50% change in the number of patients that had hospital-acquired conditions, and we've actually had less deaths. So the number of patients that have survived that insult, if you like, to how we've been treating them. Should we move on? If we look about inventory, we do 6S, we do the usual things that you've been hearing about today, and just some simple work that the theatre team did to save 43k, and particularly saved 80 hours. That 80 hours is two nurses, so that we freed up 2 nurses to do more work. You talked before about our 18-week journey. You can see the 50% reduction in the number of patients waiting. We now have no patients waiting longer than 23 weeks in our organisation. Our average wait for an orthopaedic operation has come down from around about 62 weeks. We'll sort of make sure that it's within 90%, 88% is within 17 weeks currently. We have an increase in efficiency, and that's about being smarter, not harder. Most healthcare organisations are about capacity-led, and I think you've heard from Zoe this morning, so it's about being demand-led, and that's what we did. And Zoe was one of the people that really sat down and spoke to me about that, and I would absolutely agree with that. It's about flexibility of forecasting, and we've done that. And within the North West, even with all the sorts of challenges we've had, we are in the top decile for the performance of the number of patients that we admit, the number of bed days that we have, and the number of readmissions is particularly low, which is important because they charge us. A bit like Tesco, we've looked about adapting with other people. We're also looking at some local agencies and services who are our suppliers and working with them. So leading from the front for our recovery, we are now one of the highest performers in A&E, and that's from March. From March, we've never missed that target. We've regained and sustained the elective performance. We're maintaining those quality standards. We've had 3 unannounced checks from the Care Quality Commission. We've had more checks this year than mid-staffs. And we've come out compliant with 10 with minors on 2. And that's what's leading under us. It might not have got all the money, but what it certainly does is keep our patients safe. So BICS is speaking for itself by our staff, and it will not forgo. And with all of this, our staff have said we're not forgoing the way we do things around here. But we have to get bigger and better. We're going to have to do at least 4 or 5 very large transformational schemes about changing what we do, the health system do, to make sure that we can make those savings, and we will. So the reflections for me, that this is a team effort, however you do it. You must get your director engagement, but you also must get your frontline staff. It can't be a vision if just a few have that vision and think it's a good idea. It's for all to lead together. It's, from Mavis on the shop floor to sort of be telling you that they're having a daily huddle and that they're doing a piece of work, and it's actually sort of challenging a doctor if they're not actually keeping to the standard work of hand hygiene. It's about the execution plans is tough and keeping to that. Good governance is critical. And if you do sort of step off, how do you sort of stop the line quickly? And in health, that's even more important than it perhaps is in a car. It's about prioritisation of work and what's important. There are nice things to do in Lean, particularly when you're first starting it, and getting staff engagement. But actually sometimes you have to do the hard stuff, and that's where we're faced now. So cultural change takes a very long time. Toyota had its problems 6 years into, and look where they are now. So sometimes you've got to get a grip, hold firm, look at your detractors in their eye, and protect your teams while they carry on doing good work. So I would ask you to step up to the mark. It's about the hearts and minds of everybody in your organisation. It's absolutely for them to tell you what's right. Unless we believe something is achievable, that leap of faith, it won't be. We found that early this year. We believed that we wouldn't be able to do the A&E performance because it was so busy, and because it was so difficult, and because of the snow. And that's not true. When our backs were to the wall, we believed we could do it, and we've done it and sustained it. You have to have that belief, you have to have courage. I found resilience I didn't know I had, as well as my staff. Courage is that leap of faith, and it's about doing much better than the day before, each day, every day. So I and my team have taken that leap of faith collectively. Our staff are taking that step forward. They're reflecting and they're not looking back with pride. And we will be an exceptional integrated healthcare organisation. We will have the exceptional staff proved beyond doubt that I know we've got, and we'll have exceptional leaders at every level. And perhaps that person said, well, Leslie, let me tell you about Lean. Our staff will be telling you himself. Okay, thank you very much.